Today in Confetti's Corner, we're going to look at solving linear equations and rewriting some equations and the formulas. So let's look at our first section. We're going to solve. Again, solve in math means we're going to try to get a value by itself equal to a value. So like x is equal to 21 or y is equal to 10, that's solving. So in number one, the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to distribute, get rid of those parentheses. So that gives me 12x minus 20 is equal, now that's going to give me positive 2x minus 16 minus 6x. There's my wall. My left-hand side is okay. I'm going to combine my 2x and minus 6x. That gives me minus 4x minus 16. Now, I usually like to move the variables first, but you don't have to. So I'm going to move this 4x to the left-hand side. And I get 16x minus 20 is equal to negative 16. Add 20 to both sides, and I have 16x is equal to 4. Divide both sides by 16, so that simplifies to 1 over 4. So x is equal to 1/4. Okay, the next problem has fractions, which are always a little tricky, but we can certainly use our calculators. Again, I'm going to move my variable first. So I'm going to move this 1/3 x. I'm going to zero that out by subtracting 1/3 x to both sides. So that zeroes that out. I'm left with 1/4 is equal to. Now remember that right there is 1. So 1 minus 1/3 gives me 2/3. So that gives me 2/3 x minus 1/6. I'm going to bring my numbers to the other side. So I'm going to add 1/6 to both sides. Again, now I'm just going to use my calculator to find that. And I end up getting 5 over 12 is equal to 2/3 x. So at this point, I can either divide by 2/3 or multiply by the reciprocal. So regardless in how I do it, I'm left with x is equal to 5 over 8. Again, my x is on the right-hand side, which is fine. All right, moving on to our next section, let's take a look at a word problem here. We have a real estate broker's base salary is $18,000. So that means that real estate broker makes $18,000 no matter what. She also earns 4% commission. Now, 4%, remember, in decimal is 0.04 on total sales. How much must she sell to earn $55,000? So she's going to start with her base salary, which she gets no matter what, plus 4% of whatever she makes, are unknown as x, and she's trying to earn $55,000. So our x is that is our unknown. It's how much she needs to sell. So I'm going to bring this 18,000 over to the other side, and I have 0.04x is equal to 3,700. I'm sorry, 37,000. Divide both sides by 0.04. And I have x is equal to 925,000. So that is how much this real estate broker is going to need to sell in order to get to that $55,000 total. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on solving variables, and then we're going to try to evaluate that. So in this particular problem, it says we're solving for y. So that means we're going to try to get y by itself. Again, there's my wall. I'm going to bring my 5x to the other side. I'm going to zero that out. So I have negative 7y is equal to negative 5x plus 12. Now I'm going to divide everything by negative 7. So I don't really have a lot of room, but in the end I have y is equal to 5x plus 12 all over negative 7. So that's the first part of it. Okay. And the next part is I am going to, oh, sorry, this is a negative there. So I can either leave it like that, or if I want to make that leading coefficient positive, I can kind of divide that negative sign through and change my signs. That's what y is equal to. So either way is okay. Now, for the next part, it says find the value for y when x is equal to 1. So I'm going to take this here, and I'm going to, everywhere I see an x, I'm going to put a 1 all over 7. So that ends up giving me 5 minus 12, which is negative 7, over positive 7 on the bottom. So y is equal to negative 1. Okay, the next problem, this time it says we're solving for x. So it doesn't really matter which one we solve for. It just depends on what the problem's asking. So I am first going to solve, factor out the x because I realize there's an x in both. So that gives me negative y plus 3 is equal to 30 again on the right-hand side. I'm going to divide both sides by negative y plus 3. So I have x is equal to 30 over negative y plus 3. Okay, now again, the second part of it says find the value of x when y is equal to negative 2. So again, just like we did with the last problem, everywhere I see a y, I'm going to put a negative 2. I just have to be careful of that initial negative value. So I end up with 30 over, this is negative 1 times negative 2 gives me positive 2. So I have 30 over 5. So in the end, x is equal to 6. Okay, moving on, we're going to rewrite a formula and then we're going to try to solve it. So I have solving for b sub 2, which is right there in the area of a trapezoid formula. So there's the formula, the given formula. I just need to get that b sub 2 by itself. Now, if you notice that b1 plus b2, they're kind of connected. So they're going to be the last things that I'm going to kind of unconnect to make sure that I have b sub 2 by itself. So the first thing I do, I notice I have a 1/2 here. I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of that. So I get 2a, and 1/2 times 2, that gives me 1, which is what I want. So I have b sub 1 plus b sub 2, again, multiplied by h. Now, again, I can get rid of the h by dividing by h, right? Always the opposite operation. So then I have 2a over h is equal to b sub 1 plus b sub 2. So now I'm almost there. So I'm trying to get that b sub 2 by itself. So I'm going to subtract b sub 1 to both sides. So I end up getting 2a over h minus b sub 1 is equal to b sub 2. So that's going to be my final answer right there. All right, let's take a look at the last problem. The first part says to solve for r in the formula for the perimeter of the NHS track. Use pi key on your calculator around to the nearest hundredth. So I rewrote it there so we have a little bit of room to work. We're trying to get r by itself. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move this 2x over. I'm going to zero that out. So I have p minus 2x is equal to 2 pi r. Again, trying to get my r by itself. I divide by 2 pi, so I have p minus 2x over 2 pi. So now I'm going to substitute the values that they give me. So I have 440 minus 2x is 110, as they give us, over 2 pi. So 440 minus 220, that gives me 220 over 2 pi. And again, that's what is equal to r. And then I'm going to simplify that one more time. They're both divisible by 2. So I have r is equal to 110 over pi. Now I'll put that in my calculator. I'll use the pi key as it states. In the end, r is equal to 35.01. And let's go back up and we're talking about yards, right? Because that's a radius. So yards. So 35.01 yards. All right. Thanks so much for stopping by today. You have a great day.